Osium, it is my pleasure to share with you the rich stories of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh, the Coast Salish people here on the west coast of Canada. These stories have been handed down from generation to generation. This is the story of Thunderbird. Not to quaint, in the long ago, it is said that Skauk, the raven, was a trickster. Raven was very upset with Wachas, the frog, and one day Raven picked up Wachas and carried him high into the sky, where Raven dropped the frog. Frog fell, flailing, and in his panic, Frog reached for the clouds, and he tore a big gaping hole in the clouds in the sky. This awoken Eininyacha'an, the Thunderbird, who raised his head and looked back and forth, causing flash lightning. Eininyacha'an then flapped his wings, causing storms. The wind blew and the rain began to pour. Frog kept flailing as he fell from the sky. From the clouds, the Tachayosim, lightning snakes, fled, reaching for the ground to hide from Eininyacha'an and the Thunderbird. It continued to rain torrentially until the world was flooded. By the time Frog hit the ground, he landed on water. He landed next to Yotyos, the orca, who was swimming by. This startled Yotyos, who then jumped and splashed his flipper one side, splashed his flipper the other side, splashed his tail and hit his forehead going forward, causing tidal waves in all directions. This then caused the great flood throughout the world. This is the story of Thunderbird. This is the story of Wolf. Not to Queequequay, in the long ago, it is said that a great disease came amongst the people. All of the village were decimated, except for 3 brothers and their young sister. These young ones continued to support each other the best way they could, but in the absence of their elders, they forgot Snuayat, the teachings. The eldest of the children was a lot bigger than his siblings, and he became a bully. The youngest of them was their young sister, and they made her do a lot of the labor and the hard work. One day, the young sister was walking up the mountainside. She was going to flush the deer down the ravine so the brothers could shoot them quite easily. This happened to be the first snowfall of the year, and as the sister walked up the hill, the snow accumulated quite rapidly. The sister felt ancham titzale. She felt very heavy inside for what had become of her family. And she started to cry. Ha-ha-ham, ha-ha-ham. She cried and cried. Meanwhile, her brothers were down the hill, waiting for their sister. One of the brothers was concerned, so he said, I am going to follow her. I'm going to follow her tracks and make sure she is okay. As he followed her footprints through the snow, up the mountain, the snow continued to accumulate, and it started to fill in the tracks of his sister. He was alarmed by this, so he picked up his pace, and eventually he noticed a chanantint lastakaya, the footprint of a wolf. Pretty soon her set of tracks was replaced by a single set of wolf tracks. The brother was alarmed, and he continued to follow her footprints. Eventually, the brother seen his sister as she crossed the ridge. She turned around and looked at him, and they made eye contact. The brother knew in his heart that she had freed herself and she had become the beautiful person who she is, a wolf. When he returned to the bottom of the mountain, his brothers were nowhere to be found. But he continued on his journey, and eventually he found a wife and began a family of his own, and he always remembered the teachings from his sister to respect the life-givers, to honor family, and to be a unit. This is the story of Takaya, the wolf. This is the story of Grizzly Bear. Not the Quiquaquaid, there in the long ago. It is said that all of the animals had the ability to quaquaistwai, to talk with one another. It happened on one beautiful day that all of the people were gathered in the village. They were all busy mending nets, patching their canoes, drying food for the long winter, making tools and weaving. Everyone was very busy. But there was one adolescent among them. His name was Skauk, the Raven. Raven was a trickster, and he was bored at what he seen, so he wanted to make things a little bit more exciting. So Raven went up on top of his longhouse, and he started squawking. Maychop, Etate, come around really quick. People turned around and seen it was Skauk, and they said, we don't have time, Raven, we're too busy. He said, no, Maychop, come around, quick, we must have a competition. So the people gathered and they said, okay, Raven, what is it? He said, each and every one of you has been gifted with a talent. Let's showcase our talents and see who the strongest amongst us is. So Stlathalum, the grizzly bear, stepped forward. He started bellowing in Raven's face, causing the feathers of Raven to flail in the breath of Grizzly Bear. Then Grizzly turned around and scratched a tree with his big claws, making the tree shake back and forth. Everyone was in awe, going, wow, I think Stlathalum is definitely the strongest one amongst us. Raven said, stop. He goes, surely someone is going to take Grizzly on. The next person to come forward was Quat, the little Swainson's thrush. This little birdie started singing this beautiful song, and little birdie flapped his wings up into the sky, and then pretty soon he tucked his wings in and dove right towards Grizzly, flying around Grizzly. Grizzly was swatting at the little birdie. Everyone went, wow, check out Birdie's making Grizzly dance. Everyone became more relaxed. More people stepped forward. Next was Squation, the deer. Squation was fast, just like the wind. It could jump over bushes and logs. Everyone was going, wow, that's beautiful. But there was one human being amongst them. And this human knew that it was their turn imminently, and they had nothing. In their mind, that human was saying, I can't fly, I'm not big and strong like bear, I can't jump as high as deer or mouse or rabbit. And then the human had an idea. I'll show them. He reached down and grabbed his bow and arrow. And when no one was looking, he drew his arrow back. And he released his arrow and it hit Stlathalum, the grizzly bear. Grizzly's life was taken out of him, just like that. The people were shocked as they turned around and seen this man standing there trembling. The people walked away and left him. From that day forward, humans had separated ourselves from Quaquaistwai, the ability to converse with all animals, and it was the grizzly bear who taught us the example of strength. This is the story of Grizzly Bear. Thank you for listening to the beautiful legends of my people, handed down from generation to generation.